This has to be one of the most aesthetically pleasing mice I've ever tested out. I mean, look at this stinking mochi, little matcha ball looking doodad. This is the Lamzu Atlantis. This is a very good mouse that packs a lot for the price, but there's definitely going to be some people that this mouse is not for, but I'll get to that later on in the video. And Lamzu went nuts with the packaging here. This is very easily the most luxurious unboxing I've done for any mouse so far. On top of the actual unboxing experience, it's also got grip tape included in the box as well as extra skates. So the value that you get with the mouse itself is pretty good. The bottom looks absolutely gorgeous. This almost lattice looking pattern, that transparent gold plastic, and it's a very firm, hard plastic. There's no flex to that at all. So the build quality is decent, but there is some noticeable flex on the sides with medium pressure. And the rear side button, you can actually actuate that rear side button with that flex. As long as you're using it like you should use a mouse, you'll be totally fine. For example, if you used a scalpel like you used a hammer, you'd have a pretty disappointing experience. And if you used a hammer in place of a scalpel, you'll probably get sued. So you know it, you love it. It's the XM1 shape. This is really taking a lot of cues, though it does have some refinements compared to Endgame Gear's claw grip design. A ton of recent mouse releases have been kind of taking cues and cramming a 3395 sensor with wireless performance into that XM1 shape. For instance, the X2 has a very similar overall shape feel. It's definitely not exactly the same. The sides are much flatter. So if you are using the X2 medium and you really miss the inward curves on the sides, this may be the wireless option for you. It feels weirdly big in hand, which is odd because on paper, the dimensions are really not that different from the Endgame Gear XM1. Turns out the reason it feels so big is the front end. The front end flares out more on the front upper edges, like these corners here, more compared to the XM1. So even though the overall XYZ dimensions are almost exactly the same, they're very close, that's why it feels so much bigger in hand. And when I compared it in hand with the XM1, the general shape philosophy is the same, but it just feels like it occupies so much more of your hand. Medium, large to large-handed users are probably going to be the ones to go with the Atlantis. If you've got small hands, it's a hard pass. In terms of grip styles, I mean, if you've got small hands, you could try and palm it, but the shape isn't very well built for palm grip. Medium-sized hands and above are going to be claw grip, for sure, for the Atlantis. Now, one thing that sets this apart from a lot of the other 3395 claw grip mice that have been coming out lately are these switches. These are not KL8s. These are Huano pink dot blue shell, blue pink dot shell, Huano blue shell pink dot switches for mouse 1 and mouse 2. And these are a very different experience. It's a very noticeable tactile feedback, and it is a heavier switch as well. Speaking of, mouse 1 and mouse 2 do definitely have a little bit of side play here, not noticeable too much in game, just a touch of post-travel, and the side buttons have very minimal pre-travel and just a touch of post-travel. The side buttons also feel very nice. The scroll wheel is a very nice gold color on the matcha green colored one, and it has a neat little pattern on the rubber on the ring, but I will say that it is very almost slippery. The steps are very well defined, but the tensioning is very light, especially if you're playing a game where using the scroll wheel switches between weapons. The scroll click, though, is also very nice. All the clicks on the Lamzu Atlantis feel excellent. Very nice PTFE skates on this. They feel like aftermarket skates. Exceptionally smooth right out of the box. The quality is exceptional for these skates. Now for the texture of the mouse, it's got a flat feel. It's not quite matte. It's definitely not like that kind of grainy, textured feel. It does have a kind of plasticky feel to it, not particularly grippy. This is a little bit more slippery. However, again, it does come with grip tape out of the box. Okay, so let's move on to giving the Atlantis a gecko grade. Starting off with gaming, the Atlantis gets an 8 out of 10. For its size, this is exceptionally light at just 55 grams. The clicks are a little heavier and they are mechanical, so they lose out on the benefit of optical switches having that low latency, as well as the increased weight of the switches making them slightly less spammable. However, I personally didn't have too much issue spamming the clicks, but just be aware if you're sensitive to the weight of the switch, it is a little bit heavier. The 3395 performance felt very good. I didn't have any stutters or skips, and the wireless performance was perfectly clean, no DCs or anything like that. The increased size of how big it feels in hand, I lost a lot of my ability to do micro adjustments. However, it is a very stable feeling mouse and gives you a lot for your fingers to grip onto. That claw grip is going to be exceptionally stable with the Atlantis. For everyday use, I give it a 6 out of 10. It doesn't have too many extra buttons, it's only got those side buttons. However, you can customize these side buttons and the scroll click to do whatever you need to, including macros. So there is limited use for productivity, but without like extra buttons, it's not made for that. It does, however, have really good battery life at about 70 hours estimated. For cost, I give the Atlantis an 8 out of 10. At $95, this isn't exactly a budget mouse. However, you're getting a very lightweight mouse that is that XM1 shape that people have been asking for a long time. The XM2W is late, and now the XM2WE is also late. So it's very nice to have more alternatives for consumers to be able to pick from. It comes with the 3395 sensor, the XM1 shape, and it also comes with a lot of extras in the box that make it a pretty dang good bang for your buck mouse. For my personal opinion on the Lamzu Atlantis, I give it a 6 out of 10. And that's for a couple reasons. I just personally don't do well with this shape at this size. However, the colorways are super pretty and they've got a lot of different ones to choose from, so you can match it with whatever your setup happens to be. And just the way it feels in hand, it doesn't inspire a lot of confidence. When you compare it to something like the Viper V2 Pro or an Xtrfy M8, they get down to those really low weights and have a very solid feel with no flex anywhere. But here, there's very noticeable flexing that I had on my unit at least. And there's also the light scroll wheel. Despite it being matcha colored, the texture and the overall feel of the Atlantis is not my cup of tea. But overall, that brings the Lamzu Atlantis to 6.8 out of 10. It doesn't have any of the extra flashy LEDs, the weight is exceptional, the balance is very good, and there's so many cool colorways that all look beautiful, while also getting that low weight, high performance sensor and all of that. On top of the really nice Huano switches, there's a lot to like about the Atlantis. Thanks so much for watching, subscribe to my channel if you want to see more content like this, and you all take care, God bless, and I'll see you on the next one, okay? Later.